Oh, when I turned, she was already like swinging with a knife, and I'm just trying to just block her. And in the process, all I know, I just felt water. She's yelling, and here I am just adding more fire by screaming out, "Ikaw ang fasyoki." And I was like, because you hate me so much. And numerous times where I considered unaliving myself. Because I knew I was different, but why I was different, I didn't know. Shortly after the election, the number of suicides had skyrocketed, and a lot of them were from the rainbow community. And it really broke me because I'm like, no one deserves to feel that way. So my designer, Albie's driving, and he was just thinking of ideas. And he looks over and he says the B word, but he's like, "Dear Mr. President." And I was like, "Oh, say no more. Say no more." And so many times I'm always hearing God created Adam and Eve. He doesn't make any mistakes. Exactly. I wholeheartedly believe in that. Growing up in the church, I was also taught in the church that He knew of who we were. If my God knew of who Dezi was going to be, then why would He bring me here if I'm this person?
Alofa and welcome back to Dear Suga. I am so excited for today's episode. I got a chance to connect with the beautiful Miss Dezi Bartley, the current reigning Miss Island Goddess. We cover so much topic from family, faith, and forgiveness. What I enjoyed most about this episode is the courage Dezi takes to be herself. He speaks with so much passion. As a Samoan Fa'afafine and a proud advocate of the rainbow community, she shows up with so much love and light even after everything that she's been through. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So we're just going to jump right into it. You are Miss Island Goddess, but tell us a little bit of who is Desi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dezi Bartley, also known as Dezanica Michaels, the current and reigning Miss Island Goddess. I currently reside in Cedar City, Utah. I've been here since 2011. Honestly, I'm just your average person, a content creator during the daytime or whenever I'm available. And then at night, I work at a warehouse here in Cedar City, Utah, where we make and pack foam plates. I am the oldest daughter of Papali Isua Lucia Bartley that currently resides in American Samoa. Born under the sign of Scorpio.
I'm curious because you grew up in Samoa. Could you talk us about how your upbringing and what that was like and how it came about, like moving out here in the diaspora?
Thank you for the question. When I was 8 years old, my parents were in the military, and so my grandmother had fell ill. And so our family had moved back to American Samoa. And upon moving back, my siblings and I, we had no clue how to speak a single Samoan word. I was in Samoa for about 10 years. So moving back to Samoa, I was able to find out that my grandparents were very strong catechists in the Catholic Church. And they were very well known. They've been to villages from Nu'uli, Lauli'i, Whangaitua, Whanga'alu, Masu and Aloau. These are the villages where my grandparents were catechisted. And at the time, I can honestly say my upbringing was a bit dark. Alcohol and violence surrounded my family for a very, very long time. Seen so many of the abuses that you can think of spiritually, mentally, physically, sexually, all the alleys. For the longest time, it was quite tough. I believe my generation. Back then, we didn't know of this whole thing of sharing with one another. So anything bad that happened to you, you just had to keep it with you and keep chucking forward with life. And so for the longest time, I was in a dark place. As a little kid, that was different. I was different from my brothers. Didn't like no football. you would always catch me hanging around with the women in my family, my cousins, my aunties. I was just really different. And I guess my uncles and my grandfather, they saw that different part within me. And I think to them, the solution to the problem was to beat it out of me. Again, as this little kid, I'm like, why are they doing this to me? Because I'm young and I'm looking at my family and I'm like, I thought that these were supposed to be the people that were supposed to protect me from the outside harm from the world, but then yet they were the ones that were causing all this pain. And as a little kid, the numerous times where I considered unaliving myself because I knew I was different. But why I was different, I didn't know. I didn't know w- where did it come about with me being different. I do know when I was young, a lot of times where my mom's friends would ask me, like, Desi, are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like, I'm a girl. And at the time, to my mom and her friends, it was funny. My mom was in a dance group, and my favorite dance to do was the poi balls. As someone that was so young, I became so good at it. It was like a hee ha 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 for my mom until I was just getting older and older, and I guess my mom just didn't see anything changing, so it came from a he ha 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 to a oh no, oh no, 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 because my mom was in the military. And then on top of that, being like strong Catholics, she was like, oh no, I'm not going to have a son that's going to be different or whatever. It's either, you were born a man or a woman. There's no in between and all of that. And so for the longest time, it was really dark for me. There was a time where I actually thought of seeking revenge, to all those people that hurt me because I'm like, I didn't deserve any of this pain. And so for you to inflict that pain onto me, you wait until when I get older, I'm going to give it right back to you. Fast forward. So my grandfather then passed away in 97, but legally he was my dad because my mom's parents adopted my older brother and I, hence why I have the Bartley last name. So 1997, my dad passed away and one of my uncles had came to Samoa to the funeral. And I guess he saw me with the kind of person that I was, very whack-a-mole, mo if I say, ow, kapinga and so at the time, my uncle and my aunt, they had a daughter. She was very young, and so they were like, oh, they were gonna take me with them back to Chicago so I can help with taking care of my cousin. And so with me leaving Samoa, I went to Chicago first time going back to the US. Didn't know anything. I was this very flaming feminine gay boy, I guess, fafafinge. And again, it's the same thing with my uncle and my aunt. At first, they thought, oh, it's so cute. And then it just got to the point where they're like, okay, it's getting too much. I can't do this. I can't dress this way. I can't act this way. When I go to church, it's act like a boy, stop swinging. And so I'm like, okay. And then from Chicago, moved to Hawaii, same thing. Violence, my mom's brothers, they did not like me. So for a good amount of time, I was able to just go through so much abuse within my life. And I don't remember an exact time, but I do know that it was during my journey of self-discovery, I stumbled upon a word called forgiveness. And that's when I was able to just forgive all of them for the pain that they had caused. And in the process too, I was also able to forgive myself for not letting go of this pain a long time ago. But I'm very grateful that I was able to find that release, and I found that the moment where I was able to just forgive everyone and everything. What a huge relief it was. I felt like right after that moment, I was able to walk standing tall. You know how you know that feeling like you're carrying a heavy burden? I just felt it. So yeah, from Hawaii, moved to Samoa a couple times, and then moved back to the U.S. But then when I moved back to the U.S., I lived in Washington with a group of friends, and then my little sister got married 2011. She was just so used to being around family, and so when she got married, she was alone. So she was like, "Sister, what do you think about coming to Utah? Come and see how you like the vibe here in Utah, and if you like it, you can stay. If you don't like it, then I can go back to Washington." And so when I came to Utah, I was like, I wasn't really feeling it. But shortly after, my sister and her husband, they had their daughter. And it was from that moment, my niece was 3 weeks old, and my sister and her husband had to go back to work. And that's where I came in the picture. So I had to care for my niece from when she was 3 weeks old until now. This year, September, she's turning 13.
I love that you play that role in her life. And I just wanted to talk more about your upbringing. And this is something that I wanted to kind of also share is because this is going to be the week of Ash Wednesday that this gets released. And I was thinking about Tepa was a previous guest. I'm going to preface this because that's the reason why for this question. So when I put that out, I have a good friend. She's not Pacific Islander, but she's very supportive. And she reached out to me in a genuine way and asked me a question. She's like, I'm curious to know why you had this person on your podcast because she's not a woman. And she comes from a space that she doesn't know the culture,
Yes.
but it made me appreciate the fact that at least she was stepping forward and wanting to learn and be curious to understand it. But I couldn't help but also think because a lot of people feel the same way, right? I truly believe Dear Suga is about feminine energy. And so for me, I thought about my students when I was at Samoana. There were times where I tell them the free write, and they would always tell me, "Oh, I wish I couldn't be this way. You know, I wish I could just take away the feeling." And I was like, no one should ever feel that way. And that's really, for me, it's like, it's your relationship with God.
Right.
But my friend, her perspective is that they don't believe in God. And so we just had this conversation because she's never been there. So I feel like that's the reason I want to demystify that concept that anyone who's LGBTQ does not have faith or spirituality. So do you mind talking about that?
Yes, 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 I would love to. Before I go into sharing my thoughts and opinions about it, the famous gospel singer Yolanda Adams spoke on this subject where she was asked, what is her thoughts and opinions about people within, I love to call them the rainbow community, because a lot of times I'm always mumbling when it comes to saying all the letters. So she was asked, like, what is her personal belief based on people within the rainbow community that are in church. And so she said to her, she has so many friends and family members that's in the rainbow community, but she doesn't look at them any different because we were all created equally. Because, we've always heard that we were created in his image. So, like, for me, a lot of times I like to believe it's either maybe something that was passed on to them, that there's only this way and that way. There's no in between. And so for me, being a fafafinge and having like a huge following on TikTok, it's not huge, huge, but to me it is huge. And so a lot of times it's either I get negative comments or people just genuinely asking. I'm someone that was brought into the church. Of course, I was taught that God is a loving God, right? And a lot of times we are always called to come as we are, whether you are a drug dealer, a murderer, prostitute, me, the trans woman, all of us, sadly, we were brought into this world with sin. It's something that we were taught in church. And I strongly believe that I'm one of the many reasons of why Jesus died and was resurrected was to redeem me as this fafafinge. And a lot of times I'm always telling people that so many of these Christians or whoever they are, they're so good to just focusing on a person's exterior, when they see someone or know of someone right away. It's like instead of giving them a chance to get to know them as a person, it's immediately execute them. No, 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 no. He or she does not follow under my beliefs or whatever. And then immediately it's door shut to this person without giving them a chance. So many people are so focused on everyone's exterior, but our exterior was created from dust, and to dust it will return. What's more important is what's on the inside. And that's why I'm saying, instead of you quickly not giving a person a chance, get to know them first, then make your judgment. Just because your beliefs it's not right, it doesn't mean that you can just immediately shut them out. Like, get to know them, find out their story, their history. And so that's why a lot of times I'm always saying, you focus on my exterior, but my time will come where this will return to what it was created from or made from. But what I, Desi, am more focused on is my soul, because this is what's going to return to him, right? And so many times I'm always hearing that God created Adam and Eve, and that he doesn't make any mistakes. And I'm like, exactly. I wholeheartedly believe in that saying that he does not create mistakes. But when people are like, God created Adam and Eve, you're not supposed to be here, your life is an abomination.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, since my life is a sin, I'm an abomination, then why am I here? Growing up in the church, I was also taught in the church that he knew of who we were even before we were created and brought into this world. So if my God knew of who Desi was going to be, then why would he bring me here if I'm this person? To me, what's more important to me is this interaction that we get to experience person to person, how you make a person feel, within the inside, always being mindful with the things that you say by uplifting people instead of speaking negatively about them. And to me, that's more important. A lot of times I also like to think of the parable of the master that had given his servants talents, and master went on, and some of these servants, they were able to take these talents and they multiplied it, and those that multiplied their talents were blessed. Then there is this individual that was given a talent, but what did he do? He buried that talent. And what
Mm.
happened? Yeah, the master was not so happy with him and sent him on his way. So that's why, like, for me, I can only do so much with trying to, I guess, explain myself to people. And that's why this one thing, and it's something that I try to live by. It's where we are told, instead of trying to shove religion and the Bible down people's throats, be the example, live that example, show people what the Bible is, which means what? Love one another unconditionally. Look past who they are on the outside, but focus on the inside. And to me, those are the things that he's gonna look at, what I did when I was here. And that's something that's so important. And for me, when I was young, like what I said,
Mhm.
before, I didn't know where these feelings came from. I didn't know why I became this way. My mom seriously thought it was a phase. Well, look at me now. I'm almost 50, and I it's for sure not a phase. I love to believe each and every one of us, we are all uniquely beautiful in our own special way.
It's very inspirational. I'm sitting here and I'm kind of like looking at myself going, maybe I need to learn to love more because there's times where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to love today right now, but it's good to have that reminder.
And trust me, I have those days as well. I don't know who it is or what it is. A lot of times when I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm like, there's like, I like to say it's my inner Desi, but I was told it's the Holy Spirit that will whisper to me like, "Girl, what you doing, girl? Girl, what you doing? What you doing?" Or like I'm talking to someone, and instead of verbally saying it, like it's a thought that I'll think, right? And then later on, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," then I'm like, "Heavenly Father, please, I'm sorry, forgive me." But a lot of times I always get that voice that tells me, Desi, be nice. Because many times we always hear, like, we do not know what so many of us are going through in life. So many of us were so good in masking that everything is okay, but like inside we are like crying out for help. Can you please just give me a hug? Can you just please love on me just for 5 minutes? Or can you just please help me so I could just make it through the rest of my day? And I'm just like, I always get that reminder to be gracious to people.
I I have to say I feel that I struggle because I feel like growing up in Samoa or being around other Polynesians, there's just something so different because you just feel the love there, and I don't know how to explain it, but I have to go onto like a corporate world. I'm very stern and I'm like, I don't feel like someone there that's gonna be in my corner, but it's just so different. But that's my experience right now.
With me, I'm not sure if it's the same, but with everything that we're seeing happening on social media and everything that you hear, it's the president and his administration. It's the president and his administration. So my mom, she is this huge, huge, huge Trump supporter. At first, I had to tell my mom, I was like, Mom, there comes a time where you have to make a decision. It's either you're here with me or you're not. You can't have one foot here and the other foot somewhere else. You have to make that decision. But then now I'm like, well, it's my mom. She's a grown woman. I know I cannot change her thoughts and everything because everything that she went through just made her this hard headed woman that she is today. And so that's where now I'm like, okay, I get it. My mom, she has her own personal beliefs of why she supports Trump and everything. But then since she is my mom, and my mom is still able to express and show her love and gratitude towards me as her daughter that's a fa'afafine, why am I going to ignore that? Why am I going to reject that? What am I going to do? I'm just going to reciprocate the love that she gives me. Put aside our beliefs when it comes to things politically, but just see her for who she is as my mom. My relationship with my mom in the beginning, it wasn't glitters and rainbows. Well, one of my mom's testaments every time when it comes to talking about me, she loves to share this story where she attacked me with a knife and she had sliced me on my shoulder and my back. Well, what happened was I had went out the night before. It was a Saturday. Of course, I went out as a drag queen because at the time I was a gay male. So I dressed up as a woman. I went out clubbing, came back home. I didn't and that it's just so crazy because that was the only day I came home. I was just so tired. I went to sleep with my makeup on, but a lot of times I always wipe off everything, then I go to sleep. But I don't know why I did what I did, but I went to sleep with my makeup on, set my alarm, got up and got ready for church. So as I'm getting ready for church, I hear a knock on the door. And so I didn't think it was my mom. So here I am, I just open the door and I'm still trying to remove my makeup and lo and behold, it was my mom. And when my mom saw me, she flipped. Like it's like a switch went off and she went psycho. So she took off and here I am. I'm like, it's almost church time. I'm trying to hurry. I don't want to miss mass or whatever. And I'm like, she's just gonna come with the broom or the mop or whatever. But no, I was wrong. Right when I exit the bathroom, I just got into my room and in Samoan, my mom said, "Oh, in English, it's like, oh, you want to test me, huh?" And so I'm like, whatever. And right when I turned, she was already like swinging, with a knife, and I'm just trying to just block her, make sure she won't stab me, and in the process, all I know, I just felt water. I didn't bother to look at what was happening. So, she's yelling and here I am just adding more wood to the fire by screaming at her, yeah, just kill me. Just do it. Just do it. Ikaw ang fasioki. I was like, because you hate me so much. Just finish it already. I'm tired. I'm tired already. And so my brother was there. Thank goodness my brother was home. My brother intervened, took the knife out from my mom's hand and was telling her, what was she thinking? And it was at that moment when I looked over, I noticed that, my arm was just covered in blood and everywhere was blood. I remember looking at my mom and screaming. I was like, "You're crazy." And I left. But besides all that, I can honestly say that the relationship that I have with my mom now is everything. Now the pronouns, it's full on she, her. My mom was able to witness the Miss Island Goddess pageant. And after the pageant, I had went back to Samoa with my mom for the Sophia's pageant, and it was like a meko loko. It's like every day she would meet someone or see someone and I'm with her. She's like, "Oh," the person will be like, "Lucia, oh, who's this beautiful young lady?" And she's like, "Oh, this is my daughter." And I'm like, "Hello." And then she'll throw in my fafafinga daughter. And I'm like, "Mom, TMI, too much info." And then she'll go into more details with saying, "Yeah, my daughter won the Fafafinga pageant in Washington." And so now to just see my mom come from this person that I felt I will never connect with to now as someone that's like my best friend. Every time when I call my mom in Samoa, the only thing I want is hearing her laugh. I love to say things to just make my mom laugh. But yeah, it just had to come to that point where I'm like, okay, something has to be done here. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to just shut my mom out because of her political beliefs and who she thinks is fitting or who is fit for being the president and why she ever voted for Trump and everything.
Thank you so much for sharing. No, that's a difficult story to relive, but I think it's a great story to also share with people just because I'm sure there's someone out there who's probably struggling and trying to find their own way. Thank you for being so open about that. I'm sure that wasn't easy. Which then I have to say, so I was at the soul pageant. I have to say, when you came out, it's just like energy everywhere. It was just, you cannot deny it. And on top of that, your performance was just, you off the bar. Like, it was
Thank
just so
you.
amazing. It was Dear Mr. President.
Mhm.
It was so moving, it was so touching. Where did that inspiration come from? Because usually I know when we go to the pageants, it's always gonna be something fun, but there was, like, a deep meaning behind your performance.
Yes, yes, yes. So the concept that we used for my talent, that was the original concept that I wanted to use for my evening gown. I'm not sure if you've heard that song by Stan Walker, I Am.
I love that.
Yes. And so for me, that song was such a powerful song. So I wanted to use that idea for my evening gown. And so my designer was like, what is my talent? And my original talent idea was I wanted to play a sex worker. The reason why I wanted to play a sex worker is because it's something that's very taboo within the Polynesian community, especially being Samoan. It's like they really do not want to talk about it. But it was just something that I wanted to shed light on. And that way people can get like an idea or at least kind of be open minded about the situation.
Mhm.
And then my designer is like, "You know what? No, switch." And so I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Use the concept that you have for your evening gown as your talent." And I was like, "Okay, okay, I like that." And this is when we were on our way to LA to Fashion District. Yeah,
Yes.
we were on our way to buying the materials to start creating my package. So my designer is driving. His name is Calvin. So Calvin is driving, and he was just thinking of ideas. So one of the songs he came up with was Fight Song. I was like, okay, she's cute. Another song that he came up with was What About Us by Pink. I was like, okay. And so as he's driving, he looks over and he says the B word, but he's like, "Dear Mr. President." And I was like, say no more. Say no more. And so as he's driving, I started going through YouTube, seeing if there was any covers of the song. I love Pink's original, but I felt like I couldn't connect to it emotionally. So that's where I found Kiana Lede, her version of Dear Mr. President. And I was like, you know what? I got it. And so I reached out to Felicia. She's in New Zealand for her to create like a trans inspired dress. So on my dress, there's also Samoan Mamangu designs on it because I kind of wanted to tie my identity as a Fa'afafine
Yes.
into the subject because that's another thing, us being Samoan Fa'afafine is we don't necessarily feel that we fall under the trans identity. Well, I don't want to speak for many, but since I'm here, I'm living in the US and diaspora, I'm like, too many, that's what I am. I'm a trans woman or I'm a woman of trans experience. So why not? And then Ruby did the visuals and everything. And yeah, that was my talent. And I was so very grateful for the talent because I found that it fitted so well with the political climate and especially within the rainbow community
Mhm.
because I remember shortly after the election when the results was mentioned, I forgot where I went, but it shown that the number of suicides had went skyrocket and a lot of them were from the rainbow community. And it really broke me. It really broke me because I'm like, no one deserves to feel that way. Like they
Mm.
don't belong or they're afraid of what lies ahead for them. So to them, it's like, oh, let me just take the easy way out. When there's so much more to life that lies ahead for these young ones. Yeah, it was a powerful message, and I
It
think
was.
shortly after the pageant, and even till this day, and Dear Mr. President during my reign was the most requested performance. Miss, can you do Dear Mr. President? Miss, can you do Dear Mr. President? Also, shout out to Sasha Colby. She is a former Miss Continental RuPaul Drag Race winner, and she's Mahu from Hawaii. And for her to give me the opportunity to be the opening act for her tour was everything. And again, it was Dear Mr. President. So very, very grateful for that talent and powerful message that we were able to put out that night.
And it's crazy because it's something that's still ongoing. What I liked about it, it was definitely sending a message, but it came from a space where I feel like you could all relate just as a person. It sounds like you have like a team of people just come together to make this vision happen. Even all of your costume changes, everything, it was just beautiful. How many people actually have to help get you ready for a pageant?
Okay, so the day of the pageant, each contestant, they're only allowed two helpers. And so the two helpers, it's the person that's going to dress you and your hair
Mhm.
and makeup person. So those were the only two people that were able to help me backstage. But during the preparations of it, I've had quite a few people that help even before doing the pageant. I had a fundraiser in Washington and everyone were able to just help and donate. And so there's people from all those who donated to help me with my pageant preparations, to Sister Felicia in New Zealand, to Calvi in Las Vegas, the designer and my coach and everything. Shalani that flew from Hawaii to do my hair and touch up my makeup. And then Ruby was the person who put together the visual that was projected onto the gowns. You know how we hear it takes a village? Yeah,
Mhm.
it does take a village. I think if the contestants were allowed a little bit more than just two people to be backstage, yeah, it would be crazy. But each contestant, they're only allowed to have just two people backstage. And so Yeah.
Didn't know that. So I
Yeah.
thought there was like a whole team in the back that's like getting all of you ready
Mhm.
because it's just beautiful. Like you all come out, like, I don't know, but that takes some time to get your hair done. Like I can't even do that
And
myself.
and it's funny that you had said that because after I buzzed all my hair off, I came up with the idea because normally what the girls would do, the hair and makeup people, is they build hair on top of your own hair. But
Hmm.
here's Desi with no hair. So I was like, you know what? I wanted something different because a lot of the pageants, especially within the Fafafine community, it's the same color. Like, you come in this category, it's black hair color. Next category, same thing, black hair color. And so when I shaved all my hair off, I was like, you know what? Each category is going to have a different hair color, different style. And I found that it helped me and my team tremendously because it was like right after this category, we just popped off that wig and pop on the other wig, made sure it was secured and everything. Boom, on the stage to present. And it was so easy and it was so fast. And it's just to go back to the night of the pageant. I'm very grateful that it wasn't a stressful experience or a stressful journey. Even during the preparations, when I got with my designer, presented my ideas, he loved it. I think the only stressful thing about it, because if you're gonna work with Desi, please be open-minded to I am constantly changing my mind. I am constantly coming up with new ideas. Oh, instead of this, what about this? What about that? What about but I was very thankful for my designer that he was able to be like, Desi, no, what we have is strong. So I was like, okay, the whole journey, it was nothing but tears and laughter. And the other thing that I loved about my team was after every category, before I exit the stage, they're right there,
Hmm.
holding my hand. How are you feeling? And I was like, I'm good. They're like, keep the same energy, keep that energy. You're doing an amazing job. Don't overdo it. Just keep the same energy. And so after the Dear Mr. President performance, I cried. I was crying on stage before I exited. And when I exited off the stage, I went and cried even more. Like, like that kind of cry. And
Yeah.
I am so very grateful for my team, instead of them like dramatic, but they were like, girl, let it out. Let it all out. And so they cried with me. They comforted me. They said I did an amazing job and I was able to deliver a very powerful message.
You sure
And
did.
they're like, girl, we love you, but there's another category to get ready for. So it's time to dry up them tears because we got to finish off this pageant and then we'll cry some more tears. But if I could just rewind back time and relive the whole experience, I so would. And so April is the next pageant, April 11th. So my thing, I think from the moment I was crowned until like during my reign, I've just been trying to think of ways to elevate myself and my platform as being the reigning Miss Silent Goddess. And that's why a lot of times, like, I was always out there. People would reach out. Hi, Miss Silent Goddess. Would you be able to do a performance here? Or would you be able to attend here? Oka sis nan, kingangalo desile se kupe. Yes, yes, I'll be there. I'm coming. I'm,
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be there. And it took me back to one of my telenovelas with Utopia, and a question was asked, and I remember my response was, "Is relying on faith, and with or without money, we are gonna show up and show out." And a lot of times, like sometimes some, like when I'm praying, like, I know I don't see him physically, but a lot of times in my prayer, I'm just saying, thank you, God, because even though I can't see you physically, but you were with me throughout the whole reign by sending me people that were able to help me, you know, um, pay for my fare to travel. My daughter, Camille, she was always telling me, "Mother, if you need anything, let me know." So I was always message my daughter, "Camille, I need a pass." And my daughter would get on it, "Get on this plane at this time. When are you gonna leave?" So a lot of my performances or appearances, I was known as the in and out girl. I just show up, do the business, do what I gotta do. Hi guys, bye guys, I love you guys, but I gotta go because I had to try and find that balance from being this ambassador for Utopia, Washington, the current and reigning Miss Island Goddess, to also trying to remind myself, Desi, you have a job and you too, you're getting old, you need your rest too. Yeah, married. It was just trying to find that balance and everything. And I can honestly say, just in looking back, I'm so, so very grateful. And that's my prayer, like a lot of nights, thanking Heavenly Father for the many blessings, especially the blessing of life, good health and strength, that we're able to wake up every day, go to work. So many of us are not able to wake up to another day, but for us to get this blessing and opportunity, oh, it's everything. Thank you.
You have such an amazing perspective. I wish I could have you here all the time with me because there are days where I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this." But it's so great to connect with you because then it's like, man, if I need to remind myself to have the heart of gratitude because
Mhm.
when that comes into us, it'll be everything.
Yeah.
You're on social media and you're always putting it out there. I was like, and we've been trying to schedule this for some time, but you're like,
Mhm.
I have to go here. I was like, man, I love her. Like, she will find a way to go do it. Speaking of social media, I remember being on your live. There was someone that was asking all these questions. It's almost like she had an attachment to someone that was working on the boat. But instead of putting her down, like in the comments, it was brutal, but I don't think she was Samoan. But you were like, maybe you just need to concentrate on yourself and you didn't put her down or anything. I really admired the way you were helping her kind of realize it, even though how many times you were telling her about it, but she was still kind of probing. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yes,
it
yes.
was just like I love the way that you handled that.
Thank you. Yes. So, not gonna lie, the gentleman that she was asking about is I know him. A lot of times I'm like, there's things that you should share, and then there's things where you just need to mind your own business. For me, I already had an idea of what was going on. But just like what you said, I could have been a person to where I'm like, da, 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 but I'm like, this poor girl, my heart goes out to her, not only to just her, but to many of the other women like her, because she's not the only one that's happened to. And it's so
Yeah.
crazy because I've had quite a few other women too messaging me, do you know this guy that works on this and that boat? And I'm like, yes. Do you know this girl? And I'm like, gosh. And I'm like, yes, I do know that girl. Do you know of anything that's happening? And I'm like, honestly, no. Because again, like, I know we were taught, thou shalt not lie. But then to me, I'm like, that's not my place. And that's why a lot of times, I've had talks with some of the men that, done it on the boat. And I would always advise them. And I'm like, if you have the BALLS to doing all these things that you're doing here on the boat, at least have the same BALLS to admit to everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, here you are doing the hanky panky, having the time of your life while your poor wife is at home. I don't know what she's doing, but I know she's at home taking care of the family and your kids. So to me, in my mind, I'm like, she doesn't deserve to be treated that way. But for these women to reach out and ask me, and I'm like, sis, why are you asking me? Go ask your husband. But I guess that's the reason why they ask other people. It's because their men or husbands are not being honest about it. But for
Yeah.
me, it's like I've seen a lot of those cases. And as someone that worked within the fishing industry for plus years, I've seen cases where a couple will come together. And by the time the season is done, this couple are leaving with brand new partner.
Yeah, I did. I felt sorry for her, and the reason
Mm,
why is because I've been in her shoes. I don't think I'll ever be the person that's asking someone how this is happening, but I felt for her at the same time. Think it's more of if you're feeling the way you're feeling, then it's
exactly.
time for you to leave. I know that feeling because you're wanting it to happen so bad, but then at the same time, it's like you're holding on to something that or someone that isn't that
Right.
person at all.
True. Because honestly, I've been in the same situation as well.
Mhm.
And with me being a fafafinge on the boat, and I've experienced it. And it just got to the point where, I had to tell myself, like, Desi, when are you gonna know your worth? Like when are you gonna really know how to respect yourself? Like they're just pretty much using you for their pleasures. But if you ask yourself, will you ever become the main meal instead of the side dish? I don't think that's ever gonna happen. And so it just got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Enough already. And that's why it's like every time when I get these, I'm always trying to hint to these women. If you feel that something is happening, then sweetie, something is happening. There's a reason why you're getting those intuitions. And once when you feel that something is happening, make a decision whether you're gonna pack up your things and leave.
Yeah.
Or if you still want to stick around and just deal with all the then that's totally up to you, girl.
I agree, and I learned the hard way too that no matter how much you try and you do everything and say everything, it just gets worse.
Yes.
But I guess it's one of those things you just have to experience it for yourself, even though you know, right? Even though you know this is the wrong thing to do, but you're still like, I'm gonna make it happen. You're like, mm-mm. I guess that's the whole thing because Valentine's is coming up. This is the week, right? It's
Mhm.
Valentine's, it's Ash Wednesday, it's Lunar New Year all at the same
Yes.
time.
Oh, let's go.
So you're open about talking about working on the boats because I don't think anyone really wants to talk about this is what you do. I love that. There's just something about you. You're
Mhm.
just so open about it. And I love that because it's very refreshing.
Right when I just got back from Samoa in Washington, a good sister of mine just finished her season. And out of nowhere, she's like, hey, do you want to try working on a fishing boat? And I was like, I didn't really get to think about it. I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Where do I sign up? So signed up. I remember calling my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm going to go, work on a fishing boat. So she was like, okay, yeah, sure. Go try it out. So got on the boat, steamed out to Alaska. My first day of working, 16 hours. My boots got wet. I got cold. After my first 8 hours, sis, I went and I called my mom and I'm bawling. I'm like, I can't do it. It's too much. The mentality of Samoan parents back then, in order for them to build you up, they have to break you down to your lowest, like to your lowest of all lows. So I called my mom. I'm crying and everything. So she's not, what happened? And I was like, I can't do it. And oh, this lady went off. And my mom taught us when we were young. "Akileale akir ka ngakal, ngaki mafaya sa semea." If you have that gut, like that in you, then anything and everything is possible.
Hmm.
And so after she said that, she's like, "Kwa e, kaya kene, anong e, K-A-E, pako mea, ko'y taong alfane." She was like, it was such an embarrassment, such a waste of time, such a waste of money. I came from crying to looking at the phone and I'm like, oh no, she didn't, and she was like, hell, hell. And I'm like, bye. And so I hang up the phone. Sis, from that call, I did not call my mom until 3 months later. And when I called my mom back, I was like, hi, mom. She was like, oh, I haven't heard from you in a long time. Excuse me. She's like, where are you? And I'm like, do you have a pen and paper? And she was like, for what? And I was like, do you have a pen and paper? And so she was like, yes, I have a pen and paper. And I was like, write this number down. And I just finished sending her money. My season was done. I was done fishing.
Yeah.
And, I told her the amount and she started crying and she's, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Well, I just called to say thank you because with everything that you said, I finished my season." And she was like, "Oh, kalo fasho kama." And that one season, which was 3 months back in 2009, lasted all the way up to last year, January. And when I say it was hard, it was hard because so much was expected from me and they didn't know that I was trans. Even the Samoan men on there, they didn't know I was trans. When I got on, it was like they were expecting me to present as the men that were working there. And I'm like, hello, I've been on hormones for so long. My strength is not the same, but I still push through because I used the Samoan men as my motivation. And thanks to these Samoan men that were always encouraging to me, they would always check on me, Mama, and I'm like, from my losi, I was buying, and it was with their encouragements and with the daily prayers and everything. Now looking back, if I was still working on the boat and I won the pageant, I wouldn't be able to be visible as much as how I've been visible during my reign. And so I'm like, oh wow, thank you, Lord. A lot of times I'm always saying like, Maimawe, like if you and I can see where our life is going to be 10 years from now. So you and I can just like small kind maneuver our way through to just experience all the good and easies. But I feel like that's the beauty of life is we are not able to see that far. And so during our journey, we're able to experience everything, the goods, the bads, the highs, the lows, the uglies, and the beautifuls. And for me, that's what make life what it is. So that's the boat. Surgery like, for me, I've seen other girls do it, but not so much within the Pacifica community to where a queen is being vulnerable, putting herself out there, showing the bruises, the befores and the afters. I don't really care about the likes, the comments or whatever. What's really important is to show the next group of girls or anyone to know what to expect. In that way, maybe they can come up with a better plan, like a doctor that's more closer for them. Because for me, I went all the way to Turkey. I look forward to continuing to share not just the rainbow community people, but even a
Yeah.
lot of heterosexual women. After posting those videos, I got so many messages, people asking the cost and how was the experience? Would I do it again? Yes, I would so do it.
Growing up in Samoa to just be natural. But now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, yeah, well, I think Botox works and I think it's a good thing to have.
I love to create looks. A lot of women, they're asking tips like, what is your favorite foundation? Or what do you do in this case or in that case? Or sometimes they ask me about skincare. If I know I'm going to do a makeup look, skin prep is everything. I have to exfoliate my skin, moisturize. I feel like a good, nice, clean, smooth face will
Good
show.
canvas.
Yes, yes, it'll show.
I love skincare, but when it comes to makeup, I wish I knew how to pick. So I'm curious, what is some of your favorite tips that you could probably share with us? Because I definitely would need some.
Right off the bat, majority of our Pacifica women, like what you said, they're all about the natural. So, just find your likes. If you are that natural girl, then stay with like neutral colors, something that's not too loud. Mascara, lip gloss, just something that will make you feel that girl, because for me, I love makeup because it's a way for me to express myself. Every day it's always a different look. Today I'm feeling very, not too much. And then tomorrow I could feel like a goddess and then it's just like a full face with the big hair and everything.
Yes. I'm sure there's going to be a young Fafafine who is going to be watching our podcast. What would be something you would recommend for her where she's just trying to be like, I want to explore? What would be the fundamentals for her to kind of look through and just be like, I want to be able to do that look?
Yes. Definitely find product that's gonna work for you. Because I remember when I was young, when it came to foundation matching, my neck is brown and my face is pale white. But yeah, definitely try and find like perfect foundation shade that's gonna match you, and then just play with makeup. Create different looks to where it's gonna accentuate your eyes or even your face. See what facial features of yours that you love. That you can work on enhancing more because that's one thing why I love about makeup because even with makeup you can create not only so many different looks but you're able to enhance certain features when they say contour or highlight. Contour, you can make something look super small. To highlight, you can make that area pop. So just play, blend, and yeah, eventually you're going to be able to come up with tricks and ways that it's going to be able to work in your favor.
You are just so full of knowledge. I so love
Thank
you.
you.
Your brain is coming to a close soon. You've done such an amazing job, like really being out there for the community. What's the next step for Desi?
Yes. So a few months back, when the thought came on to me that it's soon going to be time to give up the crown, sis, I would get so emotional, and I'm like, I'm not ready. And I think at the time I was saying I'm not ready because for me, I felt like there's still so much more work that needs to be done. We come from a small island. And so from that small island to where we are at now, I feel like I need to do more work with being more visible, being that representation for the Fafafinha community, but everyone. It could be that little girl who's struggling with trying to figure out who she is, or that little boy that can't help but swing when he walks. Just remind you to be who you are or who you were meant to be. And so, yeah, it came from that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to give it up. Can I have it for one more year? To now where I'm like, I'm ready. That's the beauty of having the reign for just 1 year. Because within this 1 year, you're able to showcase not only to the organization that you're representing, but to the community, to the world, what you were able to accomplish during your 1 year as being, the island goddess. And in that way, the next miss that's going to come after you will do her best as well, advocating so many people that are closed-minded when it comes to our identities and everything, or to even reach out to those people who have questions. A lot of times I tend to say, there's times where we're put in spaces, and it's during those spaces that you're put in that you're able to advocate and educate people. And when you are in that point, and if you're able to, then work it. Because there's some people, they swear they know it all. And so, like, for me, I'm just like, okay, have a good day and God bless. A lot of times for me, when I close out my TikToks, I'm always saying continue to spread love, light, and positivity because this world really needs it. During my reign, I've always wanted to show up in so many spaces because that's what I wanted. But I was always getting the save your energy, don't burn yourself out. And I'm like, true, true. This is something that I've always wanted. And now that I've got it, this is my chance. Whether I'm tired, whether I just got off from working a 12-hour shift and I need to pack my bag to fly to wherever. You know what? As tired as I am, we are going to do it.
Well, especially with Miss Island Goddess, like getting people to be part of the pageant. I'm sure there's a woman out there that's like, I want to compete, but I don't know if that's for me. Like, who should be in these pageants?
So the pageants, it's pretty much open to anyone within the like trans community and to like the cross dressers or drag queens that knows that they have what it takes to win the crown.
And it's not limited to just the cutie pie community. It's actually open, right?
It's open to everyone, to the Latinas, Latino, our black siblings.
That's awesome. So, do you have any people that have already signed up, or when's the
Yes,
deadline?
I think the deadline is March. So registration is still open. If you are interested in competing, please head on over to utopiawa.org. You will be able to find the contestant package there. That's going to give you full details on what is expected from each category and the winning prize money and what's expected from you during your reign. So sign up! So the pageant's going to be hosted in Washington at Auburn at the Muckleshoot Casino Resort on April 11th. So please don't miss out. It's definitely going to be a show. I'm excited and I look forward to seeing you all there.
I feel like we've covered a lot. Is there anything that I have not talked about?
There was a time where I started questioning my identity. There is a time where I would always look up and I'm like, why couldn't I be either or? Why couldn't I just
Mhm.
be a boy or a girl? But why this? And back then it never made any sense. But now it does. Back then I never had anyone that told me, Desi, hang in there, everything is gonna be okay. I want to tell the next generation or the generation that's before me that everything is going to be okay. And I get asked is if I'm happy with who I am, and my answer is always yes. My life could have had gone a few ways. Let's say a heterosexual male that was out there hurting all these innocent people that had nothing to do with hurting me when I was a kid, because of all this trauma that I had in me that I never dealt with. Now that I'm pouring it out onto all these innocent people. Or I could have been who I am today. Oh, hands down, my most favorite version of me, because instead of me hurting people, I'm trying to imply everything that I learned from church, from the Bible, to speaking life into people and just being that light for someone. Sis, thank you so much. Truly an honor to be here. Because at the end of the day, it's the number one command is to
Mm.
love thy Lord and thy God with all thy heart and to love one another as you would love yourself. To whoever that will come across this podcast, one thing that I would love for you to take from this story is I hope that with you coming across my content that I was able to make you smile or to make you laugh during a day where you were just not having it when life was just being light. I hope I was that person that was able to encourage you to step into your full and true authentic self. Many people are not going to understand, but through the journey, you're going to find your people that are going to be behind you, uplifting you, cheering you on. And those are the people that you need in your corner. And like what I like to say, if I've said anything or done anything here on this podcast or even during my reign, please, pamangalamay itanay. I am not no saint, never claimed that I was. But yes, please forgive me if I've said or done anything to offend anyone. It's definitely not my intention.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Listening to your story, you have such an amazing mindset because of all the things that you've gone through, you didn't allow it to sour you. To be honest, I think that would have been me because then I'd just be like, I go through my waves of things. But
Right.
I love that you shared your story, but you see the light in it. And that's so inspirational because listening to you is like, wow, if someone else was in her shoes, she would not want to deal with any of that. She wouldn't want to give back to people. She would definitely just be like, F you. I'm just going to go and do me. I appreciate you sharing that light with me today. So thank you. If this conversation meant something to you, I hope it reminds you to stay open and to lead with love and to choose understanding over judgment. And if you're interested in learning more about the Miss Island Goddess, whether to participate or be a supporter, I'll link the resources below. So I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. Clicking the subscribe and like button, this helps send it out to more people who might appreciate this. And if there's something that resonated with you today, I hope you can leave a comment. I enjoy reading the comments to see how I can always improve Dear Suga. And if you know another Sunga who would enjoy this conversation, I hope you will share this with them. I hope you get to check out more of the podcast episodes. And I'm always going to welcome you in the next one with all my alofa and mana. Sudbu pa iya.